نحن نقص عليك نبأهم بالحق إنهم فتية آمنوا بربهم وزدناهم هدى بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة الله أكبر بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم يا أيتها النفس المطمئنة ارجعي إلى ربك راضية مرضية فادخلي في عبادي فادخلي في عبادي وادخلي جنتي صدق الله العلي العظيم اللهم صل وسلم وزد وبارك على رسول الله وآله الأطهار على رسول الله وآله الأطهار صلوا على محمد وآل محمد
Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, I am now going to request my dear friend Sayyid Hassan Yusuf Shah to come and recite a poem in Urdu which was written by Hafiz Jalandhari. He was from our Ahl Sunnat brothers who also wrote the national anthem of Pakistan. It is in honor of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. With your loud salawat.
बिस्मिल्लाहिर्रहमानिर्रहीम। ये बिल यकीन हुसैन है, नबी का नूर ऐन है। लिबास है फटा हुआ, गुबार में अटा हुआ। लिबास है फटा हुआ, गुबार में अटा हुआ। तमाम जिस्म नाज़नी छिदा हुआ, कटा हुआ। ये कौन ज़ी वक़ार है, भला का शहसवार है कि है हजार कातिलों में, कि है हजार कातिलों में के सामने डटा हुआ। ये बिल यकीन हुसैन है, नबी का नूर ऐन है। हुसैन है, हुसैन है, नबी का नूर ऐन है। یہ کون حق پرست ہے، مائے رضا مست ہے، کہ جس کے سامنے کوئی بلند ہے نہ پست ہے. ادھر ہزار گھات ہے، ادھر ہزار گھات ہے، مگر عجیب بات ہے کہ ایک سے ہزار کا بھی حوصلہ شکست ہے. یہ بالیقین حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. حسین جس کی صدا لا الہ الا اللہ، حسین جس کی ادا لا الہ الا اللہ، حسین جس کی ثنا لا الہ الا اللہ، حسین جس کی دعا لا الہ الا اللہ. حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. جو دہکتی آگ کے شعلوں پر سویا وہ حسین، جس نے اپنے خون سے عالم کو دھویا وہ حسین، جو جواں بیٹے کی میت پہ نہ رویا وہ حسین، جس نے سب کچھ کھو کر بھی کچھ نہ کھویا وہ حسین. حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. ادھر سپاہ شام ہے، ہزار انتظام ہے. ادھر سپاہ شام ہے، ہزار انتظام ہے. ادھر ہیں دشمنان دین، ادھر فقط امام ہے. مگر عجیب شان ہے، غضب کی آن بان ہے، کہ جس طرف اٹھی ہے تیغ بس خدا کا نام ہے. عبا بھی ہے تار تو جسم بھی فگار ہے، زمین بھی ہے تپی ہوئی، فلک بھی شعلہ بار ہے. مگر یہ مرد تیغ زن، یہ صف شکن فلک فگن، کمال صبر و تندہی سے محو کارسار ہے. یہ بالیقین حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. حسین ہے، نبی کا نور عین ہے. محمد صلی اللہ علیہ
Calling is al-Hussain from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah. Calling is al-Hussain from Ard Karbala, Hayya ala salah, Hayya ala al-falah. إياك نعبد إياك نستعين.
On God is our tawakkul, in Him is our yaqeen.
Witness the sacrifice of Nafs Mutmain,
Him and His holy kin, Mistaq Hal Ata, calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
enjoin every good, discourage every wrong.
With the khulq and the wisdom of the Holy Quran.
This is the noble path of Ibn Fatima,
Lion of Murtada, Warith of Anbiya.
everyone.
Calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
Witness the head recite Al-Kahf Ar-Rakim,
prophesying the future, a mu'jiza azim.
some centuries ahead. You see the Fath Deen
At every arba'in, in Dasht Nineveh, calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
How do you find death? Tell me, Qasim Pisar.
Sweeter than honey, uncle, ahla min al-asal.
O Warith of Hassan, O grandson of Ali,
You will tomorrow be martyred in Karbala. Calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
can we go to Najaf, to Majid Buturab?
Said Sakina in anguish to her mother Rubab.
Oh, the light of my eyes, Mawla sends his salam
On you Kufa to Sham, this is our ibtila. Calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
قد قامت الصلاة فظهر كربلاء.
'Tis our namaz-e-akhir, my loyal awliya.
Our sajdas and ruku, our blood and our khushu,
Will nurture this zameen into khak-e-shifa. Calling is Al-Hussain from Ard Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala falah.
He is the one who knows. Allah is Al-Alim.
He is the best of planners. Allah is Al-Hakim.
To him is our return. His worship is our peak.
He is the one we seek. Is Laylatul Bala. Calling is Al-Hussain from Ardh Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah. Calling is Al-Hussain from Ardh Karbala. Hayya ala salah, hayya ala al-falah.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad.
Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad. Mu'mineen, before I invite Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry, a few announcements. Today is the last day to avail of the books that are available outside. There's a 50% discount, and this discount applies to an already discounted price, so please do take advantage of this. The books include two books by Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry, Preparation for the Time of Death and Preparation for Hajj. As has been mentioned before, we really appreciate the cooperation of parents with young children, and I understand that many of them are on level 2, but if there are other children and if you feel that you need to take advantage of level 2, please do that as a courtesy to the rest of the audience. The hall is fully populated, so I don't know if I can say anything more on that, but I see a couple of chairs empty there, so please do make sure that people can sit, especially the elderly and the young ones. If there are any young ones who are seated, I would ask them to kindly come forward in this area and allow the older members to seat. Please switch your cell phones off or to silent mode. There will be no question and answer session today at the end of the Matam. If you have further questions, you can still send them in through the hashtag, and you will have an opportunity to engage with Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry. There will be a 3-day workshop here in this hall on July 11th, 12th, and 13th, that is Friday, Saturday, and Sunday after this weekend at 5:30 p.m. daily. The topic is increasing the ma'rifah of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Moulana will deliver this workshop, and you will learn in it to defend your belief in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala and answer questions about Allah's existence and attributes. So that could also be an opportunity for you to engage with Moulana Ali Aqib Jaffry, and if you want a detailed session about any issue, you could also schedule that at that point. As this is the final Majlis, Mu'mineen and Mu'minat, it is important that we thank Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for giving us the tawfiq to commemorate the great martyrdom of Imam Hussain alayhi salam and his companions. Salawat. We are extremely grateful to Qibla Ali Aqib Jaffry for undertaking a difficult journey from Qom to be with us during this Ashura and enlightening us with his knowledge and guidance. I want to also thank all the reciters for their recitations, especially Sayyid Hussain Jaffry, Sayyid Muhammad Jaffry, and Sayyid Ali. I want to recognize my Mamu Sayyid Kausar Ali Shah, who, with his dedicated team at Masjid-e-Mohammadi, has ensured the smooth conduct of these majalis for the last 5 years. Profound thanks in this regard to brothers Junaid, Faisal, Kabir, Asif, Ali Imran, Qayyum, and Mumtaz and Fayyaz Bukhari. Brother Wasim for helping with the book stall outside, and Brother Shahzeb, Muhammad Raza, and other Tabarak volunteers for all the help. We are also extremely grateful to the sisters who have helped with the logistics on the ladies' side. In the end, I want to thank all of you for actively participating in and contributing to these majalis. May Allah expand your tawfiqat and enable us all and our future generations to increase our ma'rifah of Imam Hussein's movement, and through this wasila attain the best of dunya and akhirah. May Allah protect the Majlis-e-Aza all over Pakistan and the world, and the lives and properties of all mu'mineen and mu'minat. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ali Muhammad. On behalf of the host family, I also want to ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to forgive us, and also you all to forgive us for any inadvertent mistakes or dilazari on our part. If there is anything we can do to fix things or to improve things or the conduct of these majalis in the future, you can contact me after the majlis, or you can submit a comment using the hashtag that was provided earlier. For today's majlis and for this Ashura in general, we ask that you recite a Surah Al-Fatiha for my father, Sayyid Tajammul Abbas Shaheed, my father-in-law, Sayyid Tafakhur Abid Naqvi, Qibla Ali Aqib Jaffry's father, Sayyid Zawar Hussain Jaffry, Begum and Sayyid Wajid Ali Shah, Begum and Sayyid Afzal Ali Shah, Begum and Sayyid Ghazanfar Ali Shah, Sayyid Dilawar Abbas, Sayyida Manazza Iftikhar, Mr. Sayyid Zahir Ahmad Shah, Iftikhar Hussain Tirmizi, Sayyida Tahira Naqvi, Sayyid Zille Ali Shah, Sayyid Ashfaq Ali Shah, Sayyid Riyaz Ali, Dr. Riyaz Ali Shah. Please remember your own marhumeen and marhumat and all those who have died in a state of devotion to the Ahlul Bayt alayhimus salam. I will now request Hujjatul Islam wal Muslimeen, Moulana Syed Ali Aqib Jaffry, to come and take the minbar and recite this final majlis in the series of majalis, Quran, the solution to mankind's problems, with the loudest of your salawats.
أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين والصلاة والسلام على سيد الأنبياء والمرسلين وخاتم النبيين سيدنا ونبينا وشفيع ذنوبنا وطبيب قلوبنا أبي القاسم محمد وعلى أهل بيته الطيبين الطاهرين الغر الميامين المعصومين من يومنا هذا إلى يوم الدين. أما بعد، فقد قال الله تبارك وتعالى في كتابه المجيد وخطابه المتين، وهو أصدق القائلين وقوله الحق. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إن هذا القرآن يهدي للتي هي أقوم. صلوات. This Quran verily guides towards that which is most upright. The Quran holds within itself the framework through which humanity and mankind will solve its problems. Mankind might be ghafil today, but in times to come, it will realize the value and importance of the divine message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in the Holy Quran, and eventually it will have to revert to Quran. There is no other way. And Imam Hussain, whom we are commemorating these days and these nights, is the one who saved the message of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for all times to come. The entire humanity is indebted to Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. For saving this divine message through which humanity will achieve its perfection for all times to come. By saving this divine message, he was able to save the effort of all the prophets of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, from Adam alayhi salam to Khatam alayhi salatu wassalam. The message, the efforts of all the prophets were saved. And as I mentioned yesterday, the divine institution of religion and Tawheed was also saved through the sacrifice of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. This is what Hussain has done. Karbala banai Khuda ne, usko sajaya Hussain ne. Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam set up Karbala in this manner that for all times to come it will be remembered, and it will be a source of inspiration for all the movements that will take place till the Day of Judgment. It is the revolution of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam which will connect people to the movement of the Imam that humanity is waiting. It is said that when the final Imam will reappear, he will make this announcement. He will say, Ya Ahlal Alam, O people of the universe, O inhabitants of the universe, Inna Jaddi al-Hussain, alladhi qataluhu atshana. It was my father Hussain, my grandfather Hussain. You know, when you introduce yourself through someone whom everybody knows. If you do not know me and I want to introduce myself, I will introduce you through a city that you know or through a personality that you know, and I will express my relationship with that person. The Imam will introduce himself. The Imam of the time will, when he reappears, he will introduce himself through Imam Hussain. Which means that at that time the entire world would have known Imam Hussain. And we are witnessing that every year in Arba'in, with millions and millions of people gathering in Arba'in. This is what Imam Hussain has done to the hearts of people. There's a hadith which says, Inna liqatl al-Hussain hararatan fi qulub al-mu'minin lan tabruda abada. The sacrifice of Imam Hussain has created a warmth in the hearts of the mu'mineen that will never die. All of you coming to this majlis and other majalis in this heat is testimony to that. It is the warmth of the love of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wasalam that pulls people from all parts of the world, wherever they are, to attend. There will be no country in this time, no city, no village where the Aza of Imam Hussain is not being commemorated. Why not? He was a manifestation of the divine principles mentioned in the Holy Quran. His entire movement was driven by the principles of the Quran. The principle of Kalimatullahi hiya al-uliya, the word of God is supreme. He did not let any other word, any other principle other than the principle of Allah to reign, to rule. He wanted the rule of the laws of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the face of earth. And he was the most befitting to sacrifice himself for that to happen. In one of the journeys, in one of these trips that he was taking towards Kufa, when he met Hur, what did he say? He said, "Ala tarawna anna al-haq la yu'mal bihi, wal batil la yutanaha an." Do you not see that truth is not being acted upon? Wal batil la yutanaha an, and batil is not being stopped. لِيَرْغَبِ الْمُؤْمِنِ فِي اللَّهِ مُحِقًّا. In such a situation, a mu'min should deserve to meet his Lord truly. When he invited his companions, the people in his journey, he was very clear. He knew what the destination is going to be. He was not ready to accept humiliation. Yet another principle the Quran teaches us. لِلَّهِ الْعِزَّةِ وَلِرَسُولِهِ وَلِلْمُؤْمِنِينَ. Izzah, dignity and honor belongs to Allah and His Prophet and the mu'mineen. It is mentioned in the Holy Quran, in the traditions, that Allah has allowed a mu'min, did tafreez, has assigned, has delegated the affairs to a mu'min and allowed him to do whatever he wishes, except to humiliate himself. Under no circumstance is a mu'min allowed to humiliate himself. And the framework is again given in the Holy Quran, where Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, وَأَعِدُّوا مَسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Prepare whatever you can. Jitni qudrat hai tumhare andar, prepare yourself. Min quwwatin, gather strength and power. Wa min ribatil khayl, and the trained horses, the horses used in the battlefield. In other words, gather as much military strength as you can. Why? To attack others? No. Turhibuna bihi aduwullah wa aduwakum, so that you can strike fear in the hearts of the enemies of Allah and your enemies. It is a deterrent, and we see that today. There was a brief period of time where humanity and countries thought that we have now become civilized enough that no one will transgress over other nations. We thought that there is international law and people will not violate those international laws. We thought there is charter of humanity, of human rights, and human rights will be protected. And over the past 2 years, we have seen that that was a fallacy. Today, whoever has power and will, or we see them transgressing and oppressing those who do not have might. Today it is the rule of power. There is no respect for international law. That is why the Quran from day one said, أَعِدُّوا مَسْتَطَعْتُم مِّن قُوَّةٍ. Gather military strength. You will need it one day as a deterrent against the enemies of Allah and your enemies. And it doesn't stop there. وَآخَرِينَ مِن دُونِهِمْ, and others other than these two. لَا يَعْلَمُونَهُمْ, you do not know them. So other than the enemies of Allah and your enemies, there are other people who are your enemies and you do not know them. Allahu ya'lamuhum, Allah knows them. So following and implementing this framework that Islam has provided will result in the izzah of Allah, of Rasul, of the mu'mineen, of Islam. And in other words, it says, وَإِنْ أَعْقَبْتُمْ, if you are being transgressed over, if somebody transgresses over you, فَآقِبُوا بِمَا مِثْلِ أُوقِبْتُمْ, then respond to the same degree to which you are being oppressed. Exercise justice when you respond, when you retaliate. These divine principles are there in the Holy Quran, which humanity is in need of. Without these principles, izzat for mu'mineen will not be possible. We are not allowed to humiliate ourselves. And one of the driving principles in the movement of Imam Hussain ﷺ was this principle. Salli ala Muhammadin wa ali Muhammad. He was not ready to humiliate himself for even a fraction of a second. And we find his statements where he makes reference to that on the day of Ashura during his trip. But before I get into those statements, I'd like to tie up the loose ends of the discussion that we were having over the past 8 days. The Quran has the solution to our problems, frameworks, but those frameworks need an implementer. We want someone who is ready to implement these frameworks, without which the solutions will not be possible. There's this person who comes to the Imam and tries to tell the Imam his belief system, his ma'rifah of Allah, of the Prophet, and of the Imam. And it's very interesting how he approaches this, and it is food for thought for all of us. He comes to the Imam and he says, Inna Allah Azza wa Jal ajallu wa akramu min an yu'rafu bil makhluq. Allah is the exalted, is greater and is higher than that he should be known through the makhluk. Balil makhluk yu'rafuna billah. Rather, it is the makhluk, it is the creation of Allah that should be known through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. This is the flip side of how we approach Allah, how we identify Allah, how we discover Allah. He says Allah is higher than that he should be recognized through the creation. How do we recognize Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala? We look at the creation of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. We look at the trees and the sun and the moon and the stars. And then we realize there is a creator. Through the creation, we discover the creator. But this person comes to the Imam and he says that Allah is higher than that. It should be the other way around. We should know the creation through Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, rather than knowing Allah through the creation. And to explain this concept in a simple manner, you might be seeing my shadow behind me. It would be at one level of marifah to claim that since I see the shadow, the speaker is on the chair. You get to me through my shadow. And the other side would be, because he is sitting on the chair, therefore there is a shadow. You go to the ocean, you look at the sea and you say, well, I see waves, therefore there is an ocean. And another approach is, because I see the ocean, there are waves. So it's being at one level to say that I see the creation of Allah, therefore there is Allah. And it's at an extremely different level where you say, because there is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, therefore there is creation. This is at a completely higher level. And the Imam said, Sadaqta, you are true. You're right. And then he goes to the next stage, and that is why it is important that we all have our belief system rooted in logic and istidlal. Then he said that whoever knows that there is a God should know that that God has likes and dislikes. He expects things from us, and that we cannot know his likes and dislikes except through revelation or a prophet. So either he reveals his likes or dislikes to me directly or through a messenger. And since I don't find myself receiving divine revelation, I need to look for a messenger. And the messenger should be such, meaning in other words, blessed with a miracle that whenever you encounter that messenger, you testify that he is truly the messenger of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala through a miracle. And the Imam responded, Sadaqta, you're right. Then he goes to the next step. He says, I ask my Muslim brothers and sisters that in the time of the Holy Prophet, the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala was the hujjat of Allah, the proof of Allah on the face of earth. And whatever he said was final authority. When he left the world, who is the proof of Allah? Where is the proof of Allah? What is the hujjat of Allah? And he said, these people turn back to me and say, Quran is the hujjat of Allah. Quran is the proof of Allah. He said, then I turn back to them and I say to them, well, it is this, I look into this Quran and I look at people and I see all the different sects use this Quran to prove themselves. Even those who do not believe in the Holy Quran, even they turn to the Quran, they use the Quran to prove themselves. So how can this Quran be the proof and hujjat of Allah? Because it is open to interpretation. So then we need to reach this conclusion that the Quran cannot be the hujjat of Allah except it has a guardian over it. It has a qayyim over it, whose statement, whose words regarding the Quran would be final authority. Whatever he says would be final regarding the Quran. He said, and the people turn back to me and say, well, there are companions who know the Quran. He knows it and he knows it and he knows it. And Huzaifa knows it, and Ibn Masud knows it, and named the companions of the Holy Prophet. And he said, then I turn back to them and I say, do they know all of the Quran? Each and every verse? Because I find situations where a question comes up and I find him saying, I do not know. And I find him saying, I do not know. And I find him saying, I do not know. There's only one person among the companions of the Holy Prophet who never said, I do not know. Who never said, I do not know. He always said, I know. And he knows all of the Quran. Not a single time has he said, I do not know. Then it gets established that that person is the one who is appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as the guardian over this Quran. And that person is the hujjat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala over all of entirety of mankind. And this person is none but Ali ibn Abi Talib. When the Imam heard this, the Imam said, Rahimakallah, may Allah have mercy on you. Testifying to what he said is true. You'll find only one individual who never said, I do not know. Only one individual who said, Saluni, Saluni, ask me before you lose me. Only one individual. Any other individual who claimed to say this was humiliated. Only one individual. It is absolutely logical that Allah appoints someone as the guardian over humanity and over Quran after the Holy Prophet leaves this dunya. Because the Quran itself is a text and open to interpretation. I will narrate one more incident, inshallah we'll move on. One of the companions of the 6th Imam by the name of Hisham, he was sitting in front of the Imam and other companions were also there. And the Imam said to him, what transpired between you and that person in Basra, who was known for his knowledge and for his speeches? And he, being a humble student of the Imam, said, how can I speak in front of you? My tongue trembles when I open my mouth in front of you. The Imam said, well, when you are commanded, you need to respond. And he said, I heard about this person in the mosque of Basra, and I started to go. I wanted to go and meet him, and I entered the city of Basra on the day of Jummah, and I saw him gathered with people gathered around him, and he was delivering a speech, and he was people were asking questions, and he was responding to them. I went close to him, and I sat down in the crowd on my knees. And I raised my hand and I said, I have a question too. And he said, go ask your question. And he asked, Alaka aynun, do you have eyes? He said, what kind of question is this? Of course I have eyes, don't you see? But what kind of question is this? He responded, he said, my questions are like that. Will you answer? He said, well, even if your questions are stupid like this, I will answer. Go ahead, ask your questions. He said, do you have eyes? He said, yes. So what do you do with them? I see things. Do you have a nose? He said, yes. He said, what do you do with them? I smell things with it. Different kinds of smells, and I smell them. He said, do you have ears? He said, yes, I have ears. He said, what do you do with them? I hear sounds with it. He said, do you have a tongue? He said, yes. He said, what do you do with them? I taste things with it. He said, do you have a qalb? You have a heart. Qalb in Islamic literature refers to the faculty with which you think, intellect, aql. Do you have aql? He said, yes. He said, what do you do with them? He said, whenever there is a conflict between these different senses of mine, I present them to the aql, and the aql makes a final decision and decides between them. He said, is there any defect in your eyes or in your ears or in your nose or in your tongue? Aren't they all healthy? He said, yes, they are healthy, but in case of doubt, it has to be, I present this information that my senses gather to the intellect, to the aql, and the aql makes a final decision. He says, if Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala did not leave your healthy senses without an imam and a leader and a decider, how do you think He would leave the entire of humanity without an imam? How would He leave without an imam? He said, when I gave him this response, he was silent. He turned back to me and he said, are you Hisham? And I said, no. He said, are you one of his students? He said, no. He said, where are you from? He said, I'm from Kufa. He said, then you must be Hisham. And then he made me sit next to him, and as long as I was there, he did not utter a word. The Imam smiled and said, who taught you this? Who taught you this? He said, some of it I learned from you, and the rest I organized this argument myself. The Imam said, Wallah, this is the argument that is present in the Suhuf of Musa and Ibrahim. This is what is present in the Suhuf of Musa and Ibrahim. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala cannot leave this world without an Imam. If our ma'rifat of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, if our awareness and ma'rifat and recognition of Allah is complete to the extent that we are able to, our ma'rifat of the Holy Prophet will get complete. And if we know the Holy Prophet to the level of ma'rifah, with the correct level of ma'rifah, we will realize that there has to be an Imam. And since this Imam is going to sit in the place of the Holy Prophet, he will have Prophet-like attributes. And since the Prophet of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is a representative of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, the Prophet is going to resemble and is going to manifest the attributes of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala to the highest possible degree. That is the criteria and metric that we have for anyone who leads the Ummah after the Holy Prophet. This high level of standard was met by all of our Imams, including Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. Salli ala Muhammadin wa ali. You look at their teachings, you look at their movements, you look at their battles, you will find that. In one of the battles when Muawiyah and his forces were in charge of water, and they cut off the supply of water to Amirul Mu'mineen, alayhi salatu wassalam. And then when his army took over control of that river, he did not cut off water supply to them. He did not. He manifested that level that he was supposed to display. Look at their teachings. Never for a single moment did they accept humiliation. Sometimes the fear of humiliation, sometimes the fear of poverty results in us getting poor sooner. Beautiful statement from Amirul Mu'mineen alayhi salatu wassalam. In Nahjul Balagha he says, Ajibtu lil bakhil. I am amazed, I am surprised at a miser. Yasta'jilul faqr alladhi minhu harab. Who brings poverty on him, the poverty that he fears, he wants to run away from. وَيَفُوتُهُ الْغِنَى الَّذِي إِيَّاهُ طَلَبْ. And he loses the ghina, the abundance of wealth that he has, which he wants. So this miser person, despite having wealth in him, he does not spend it. And therefore what happens? فَيَعِيشُ فِي الدُّنْيَا عَيْشَ الْفُقَرَى. He lives like a poor person in this dunya. وَيُحَاسَبُ حِسَابَ الْأَغْنِيَا. And on the day of judgment, he will be accounted for. He will have to give accountability for all the wealth that he had. The accountability of a wealthy person and the life of a poor person. So this fear of poverty makes one bakhil, and that results in you living as a poor person while you have all the wealth. Similarly, another statement of the Imam, he says, An-nasu min khawfi dhul fi dhul. People out of the fear of humiliation, they are in humiliation. Khawf of humiliation, the fear that I might be humiliated, results in people accepting humiliation before humiliation comes. We have that story of one of the companions, and it is strange that during the time of the first, second and third caliphs, whoever refused to pay allegiance to the caliphs were considered outcasts, and they were considered out of the religion of Islam. When it came to the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, those who did not pay allegiance to the Imam, they were considered brave and courageous to be able to have done something like that. The criteria shifted. Previously, those who refused to pay allegiance exited the fold of Islam. But in the time of Amirul Mu'mineen, there were people who refused to pay allegiance to the Imam. And as you would say, there are two major sects in Islam. One is the Shia sect and one is the Sunni sect. And both of them accept Imam Ali ﷺ, some as the first Imam and some as the fourth Caliph. But we find people who did not accept the Imam, who did not accept him, neither the first nor the fourth. Until they lived, they fought battles with him. Which sect would they belong to? They neither accepted Imam to be the first, neither the fourth. And this person, there was one person who did not accept the bay'ah, who did not do bay'ah to Amirul Mu'mineen. And then later came the time of Hajjaj bin Yusuf, one of the tyrant rulers in the Muslim Ummah. And when he took charge, this person who did not do bay'ah to Amirul Mu'mineen, he became upset and he became afraid of humiliation. So he wanted to do bay'ah to this leader immediately. And in the middle of the night, he went to his palace and knocked at the door and said, I want to see this ruler. And it was said to him, it is night time, come tomorrow. He said, no, I have a very important matter to discuss. So he was taken to this ruler, Hajjaj ibn Yusuf. He was sleeping in his bed. He said, why did you disturb me? He said, I want to do bay'ah to you. I want to offer my allegiance to you. You could have waited till morning. He said, no, I've heard from the Holy Prophet, whoever dies without doing bay'ah to the ruler dies the death of Jahiliyyah. I'm afraid if I die, what am I going to say to the Holy Prophet? The person who refused to do bay'ah to Amirul Mu'mineen out of fear of humiliation, look at how he's humiliating himself. Hajjaj ibn Yusuf said, well, I do not have the time to take your bay'ah with my hand, and you can do bay'ah on my foot. And he extended his foot while he was in his bed, and this person kissed his foot and did bay'ah, and he left happily. An-nasu min khawfi dhul, people out of the fear of humiliation, min al-dhul, fi dhul, are in humiliation. The Imam, from the very first day, had said, I am not going to humiliate myself. When he left Medina in the middle of the day. He did not run away like a slave. Later on he said, La utikum biyadi ita'az dhalil. I'm not going to give you my hand in your hand like a dhalil person, like a humiliated person does. Wala afirru farar al-abid. Neither am I going to run away like a slave. He stood up to fight. Talking about Ibn Ziyad, Inna ad-da'i ibn ad-da'i kad rakadha bayna snatayn. This person whose father is not known, and the father of his father is not known. Inna ad-da'i ibn ad-da'i kad rakadha bayna snatayn, has given me two options. Qad rakaza bayna snatayn, he has given me two options. Bayna sillah wa dhilla, the sword and humiliation. Hayhat means dur hai humse. It's far off, far away is from us. Hayhat minna dhilla. Humiliation is far from us. This is not an option. Humiliation is not an option. And he stood to his words till the very last moments. One of the verses that is attributed to him, he said, Al-maut khairum min rukubil ar. Beautiful statement. He says, death is better than humiliating oneself. Al-maut khairum min rukubil ar. And the second sentence is even more precious. Wal-aru awla min dukhulin nar. Accepting humiliation is better than entering the hellfire. ये दूसरे वर्स में किस humiliation की बात हो रही है? In the first one he says, death is better than him being humiliated. And the second phrase he says, being humiliated is better than entering the hellfire. This second is the perceived second humiliation. In the second verse is the perceived humiliation that, for example, the youths might have when they have to do things under peer pressure. When you feel that if you do not do this, you will get humiliated by your friends. This kind of perceived humiliation that has nothing to do with Islam, it is better to accept this kind of humiliation than to do something and later enter the hellfire. Do not let peer pressure force you and thinking that because you will be humiliated in this society, that is functioning with a framework that is not in line with the teachings of Islam, you will be humiliated. Therefore, you end up doing things and later you end up in the hellfire. Very compact statement. Al-mawtu khayrun min rukubil ar wal aru awla min dukhulin nar. These are the messages we get from divine leaders appointed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, who not only profess these and say these things, but I also embody these. On the night of Ashura, Imam Hussain, the night that is approaching, this is the night of Ashura. All of the men are alive. Tomorrow's night will be the night of Ghariba. None of the men will be alive tomorrow. Ladies will be all alone by themselves. This night, the Imam had asked for this night himself. At Zuhr time today, the enemy began to charge towards the camps of Imam Hussain alayhi salatu wassalam. Imam was sitting on his chair and he heard the stamping of the horses. He woke up. He asked Hazrat Abbas to go and check what is going on. He went to the battlefield. He said to Shimr, what are your plans? What is going on? He said, we want to start the fight right now. Hazrat Abbas alayhi salatu wassalam does not make a decision unless his Imam tells him to do so. So he says, stop right here. I will take your message to my Imam and come back with this answer. Hazrat Abbas to wahan se chale gaye, lekin Robe Abbas ne ashqiya ko wahin par roke rakha. He went back to the Imam. The Imam said, try to buy one night from them. Ask them if they can permit one more night for us. And the reason why the Imam wanted one more night, according to the statement of the Imam, he said, you know, inni uhibbus salah, that I love the prayers, wa talawata kitabihi, and the recitation of the holy book of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, wa kasratid du'a, and lots of du'as, wal istighfar and istighfar. This is why he wanted this night. And this night, the Imam and his companions were busy in worship and prayers and dua and istighfar. And it is said that if you passed by one of the camps, their camps, you would hear their voices like the humming of the bees. जिस तरह शहद के छत्ते से मक्खियों की आवाज़ आती है, उस तरह से इन असहाब की दुआओं की और इबादत की आवाज़ आ रही थी. It is in this night where he gathered his companions and he said, I do not, we are the family of the holy household. We do not deceive nor trick. You will all be killed. Take advantage of the darkness of the night and leave. Nobody left. Rather, they all stood up and expressed words of loyalty that we have never heard before. And they not only said that, they fulfilled it on the very next day. At the end, the Imam said to them, you will all be killed tomorrow. Everyone will be killed. Nobody will be spared. And they were all excited. Yet they did not leave. It is on this very night that Ali ibn Mahziyar, one of the companions of the Imam, he comes back to his camp. He tells to his wife to pack up her stuff. She says, why? He said, the Imam has informed us that all of us are going to be killed. So, I do not want you to be hurt and be in pain and suffering. Your tribe is nearby. I will leave you with your tribe. She turns back and says, so if the men will be killed, what will happen to Lady Zainab Salamullah alayha? He says, they will be taken as captives. She turns back to him and says, Ali ibn Mahziyar, this is not fair. The lady Zainab be taken as captives and I be with my tribe safe and sound? I will be where Lady Zainab is. I will be with her. जिस तरह असहाबे हुसैन ने वफा की इंतहा कर दी, उसी तरह कनीज़ान ज़हरा ने भी वफा की इंतहा कर दी. It is in this night that one of the companions of Imam Hussain was tested right there and then, Bashir, who, when the Imam asked him to leave, he said, how can I leave you? Only to be eaten by the wild beasts if I leave you. At that night, news came from the border that one of his sons was captured at the border. And he was upset and worried. And the Imam said to him, I relieve you of my allegiance. Go and secure the freedom of your son. His son was on one side, and the son of the Holy Prophet was on the other side. He said, I am going to seek reward for this from Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on the day of judgment. मैं नबी से इसका अजर लूंगा, मैं आज के दिन आपको छोड़कर नहीं जाऊंगा. I'm not going to leave you today. In this time, what happens to my son will happen. I will take the reward from the Holy Prophet on the day of judgment. The Imam gave him 5 wealthy dresses that the Imam was carrying with him. When the Imam did not humiliate himself, the convoy of the Imam that was moving was not a convoy that was poor. He was moving with all the belongings. When Hazrat Hur's army stopped him, there were 1,000 people in the army of Hur, and the Imam gave water to each and every one of them. Imagine the amount of water he was carrying with himself. It was not like this is a small convoy depleted of worldly belongings. It was a convoy that was moving with all the blessings of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala with them. He gave him 5 dresses and he said, send your slave to secure his freedom. All of this happening in the night of Ashura. It was in this very night that the Imam came out to inspect what was going on. One of the companions, Nafi bin Halal, he saw the Imam walking alone. Fearing for the life of the Imam, he started to follow the Imam. The Imam turned back and said, Hilal, why are you following me? He said, Imam, I fear for your life. The Imam said to him, Hilal, nobody is watching you. Take advantage of this darkness and leave. He falls to the ground. He says, Imam, I've paid 1,000 dirhams to buy this sword. I paid 1,000 dirhams for my sword, for my horse, so that I could defend you. Please do not deprive me of this opportunity. He accompanies the Imam, walking next to the Imam, till he came to the camp of Lady Zainab. The Imam enters the camp and he stands outside. And as the conversation started, he overheard the conversation. One of the statements Lady Zainab made, he said, oh brother, have you tested your companions? क्या आपने अपने असहाब को आजमा लिया है? कहीं ऐसा तो नहीं होगा कि कल जब जंग शुरू हो तो आपके असहाब आपका साथ छोड़कर चले जाएं? Nafi heard this statement. He could not tolerate this statement. He rushed towards Habib ibn Muzahir and he called out to Habib ibn Muzahir saying, Habib, you are sitting here. The lady, the daughter of the Holy Prophet is doubting our loyalty. Let us go. Let us go and express our loyalty. They all gathered outside the camp of ladies. Zainab salamullah alayha, ए बिन्ते रसूल, हम अपनी वफा को साबित करने के लिए आए हैं. हम अपने इमाम के मुंतज़िर हैं. अगर इमाम हमें इजाज़त दें तो आज रात ही दुश्मनों पर हमला कर दे. मैं कहूँगा हबीब, आप जनाब सैयदा की, सानिया ज़हरा की एक तकलीफ़ बर्दाश्त ना कर सके, नंगी तलवारें लेकर आ गए. शामे गरीबा पर आप, शामे गरीबा में आप कहाँ थे जब सानिया ज़हरा तन्हा रह गई थी, जब असीरी आ गई थी, जब बच्चों को ढूंढ रही थी, उस वक्त आपके और आपके अंसार कहाँ थे? Azadara ne Hussain, on the day of Ashura, time came when my Imam was left all alone by himself. I've read part of this before. When everybody was gone and it was Imam's time to enter the battlefield, he came to meet his son, Janabe Sayyidus Sajjad alayhi salatu wasalam. The Imam Sajjad was made to sit by his aunt, and then a discussion started, and the Imam Sajjad asked him, oh my father, ma sanata al-yawm ma'a haula'il munafiqeen, what did you do with these munafiqeen today? And the Imam responded, today a fierce battle took place, and the plains of Karbala is filled with blood. When he heard this and he saw his father standing alone, he said, Aina Ammi al-Abbas, Aina Ammi al-Abbas, where is my brother Abbas? And the Imam responded that your brother has been killed in the river Euphrates, and his hands are laying on the bank of river Euphrates. When Imam Sajjad heard this statement, he fainted, and when he regained consciousness, he said, Aina Ali Akbar, Aina Akhi Ali Akbar, Aina Habib ibn Mazahir, Aina Muslim bin Awsaja, where are all of these? And the Imam responded that from amongst the men, there's only me and you left in the camps. Yes, that had happened. When he heard that, the Imam turned to his aunt and said, Alayya bis sayfe wal asa, please bring my staff and my sword. Imam asked him, what are you going to do with them? He said, oh my Imam, I'm going to use the staff to support myself, and I'm going to use the sword to defend the Imam of the time, because there is no khair in life after you. The Imam hugged him, the Imam embraced him, and he said to him, you are my pure progeny. तुम मेरी पाकीज़ा इतरत हो, तुम मेरी अत्यब ज़ुर्रियत हो. These women have lost their loved ones. They need consolation. You need to be with them. They will look at you and they will seek consolation by looking at them. You have to be with them. And then he turned to the women of the Ahlul Bayt and holding the hand of the Imam, he said, Ya Zainab, Ya Ruqayya, Ya Kalsum, Ya Fatima, Ya Sukaina, this son of mine is the Imam after me, whose obedience is wajib on all of you. Then he turned to his son, Janab Sajjad, and he said, Ya Shiyati, O my son, Ya Bunayya Balligh Shiyati Anni Salam, O my son, deliver my salam to my Shias. इस मौके पर भी इमाम ने अपने शियों को याद किया, अपने बेटे से कहते हैं, Balligh Shiyati Anni Salam, deliver my salam to my Shias. فَقُلْ لَهُمْ مِنَّا أَبِي مَاتَ غَرِيبًا, tell them that my father was martyred in a strange land, وَمَضَى Shahida, and he passed away in the state of Shahada. Yes, that time also came when the Imam was in the battlefield. One by one, arrows were piercing his body. The Maqtal says that a time came that one of the arrows pierced his hanak, and blood started to come out of his neck. He removed the arrow from his neck and he filled his palm with the blood, and he did not know what to do with the blood. Then after a while, another arrow came and pierced his neck. He took out that arrow as well, and at that time he was on his knees. Then another arrow, a three-pronged arrow, came and hit on his chest. At that time he fell on the ground. He was on the ground. Then he controlled himself with him on his knees, did not know what to do. At that time, probably the enemy started to move towards the camps of Lady Zainab Salamullah Alaiha. At that time, he turned to Shimr and he said, In lam takun lakum deen, wala takhafun al-ma'ad, if you do not have religion and you do not fear the day of judgment, fakunu ahraran fi dunyakum, at least be free in this world. Shimr turned to him and said, what do you want? What are you trying to say? He said, that these women have nothing to do with you. Your fight is with me. As long as I am alive, do not go towards the tents. They all returned, and now Hussain is surrounded by the enemy. Whoever has a spear is piercing him with his spear. Whoever has a sword is using his sword. One of the companions of the army of Yazid says, I saw the Imam and he was whispering something. I came close to see what the Imam is saying, and he was saying, Rizam berizak, sabran ala balak, la ma'buda sewak. He said, my heart felt sorry for him. I said we should give him some water. So he went away from the battlefield. As he was returning from the battlefield, away from the battlefield, as he was returning back to the battlefield with some water in his hand, he saw Shimr. Shimr turned to him and said, why did you leave the battlefield? He said, I felt sorry for Imam Hussain. I thought we should give him a sip of water before we kill him. And Shimr, he was trembling. He said, well, it is too late now. And he says, but when I saw towards the hands of Shimr, he was holding the head of Imam. Inna lillahi wa inna ilayhi raji'un. Ya Hussain.
was presented with this option of Baina Silla wa Dhilla, the sword or humiliation. And Imam said, Hayhat minna dhilla. We are far from humiliation. This noha that my nephew, Abdullah Jaffri, my son Ali, and I will recite, it uses this theme. It is tarafi aajo actually. Ali Darajo or Abdullah Saath aajo. And inshallah, please do not do Matam until I start. Lyrics now. Next slide. No bai'ah to your emperor, O Shimro ibn Saad. We are the people of Sharaf. Tell this to Ibn Ziyad. No bai'ah to your emperor, O Shimro ibn Saad. We are the people of Sharaf. Tell this to Ibn Ziyad. Our faith is our izzah. Your evil is your dhillah. Baina silla wa zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. Our faith is our izzah. Your evil is your zillah. Baina silla wa zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. Our honor we remember, we shall never surrender. Baina silla wa zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. Said Muslim ibn Awsija, 'tis my will, O Habib. Do not leave Al-Hussain alone until you are shaheed. Said Muslim ibn Awsija, 'tis my will, O Habib. Do not leave Al-Hussain alone until you are shaheed. He is Hujjah of Allah. He is the son of Zahra. Baina silla wa zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. We are the righteous nation. No true humiliation. Baina silla wa zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. Hayhat minna zilla. He is Shabih Mustafa. Oh Ummah, can you see? He is Zabih Karbala. He is my son Ali. He is Shabih Mustafa. Oh Ummah, can you see? He is Zabih Karbala. He is my son Ali. There is no one more worthy. تقدم يا ولدي بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. Allah is our selector, Allah is our avenger. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. هيهات منا زلة. Said Ghazi to the army of inhuman ashqiya, stop me, you cowards, if you can, from reaching Al-Qama. Said Ghazi to the army of inhuman ashqiya, stop me, you cowards, if you can, from reaching Al-Qama. I am the son of Haydar, who won Khandaq and Khaybar. Bayna Silla wa Zilla, Hayhat minna Zilla. My faith is like a mountain, and Kauthar is my fountain. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. My faith is like a mountain and Kauthar is my fountain. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. The Ashkiya paraded us from Kufa unto Sham. Baba, they put a shackle on my brother and Imam. The Ashkiya paraded us from Kufa unto Sham. Baba, they put a shackle on my brother and Imam. My ears, they are still bleeding, but my lips are repeating. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. My ears, they are still bleeding, but my lips are beating. My ears, they are still bleeding, but my lips are repeating. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. For I am your Sakina, riding in your Safina. بين الزلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. For I am your Sakina, riding in your Safina. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. Bibi in Lahjaye Ali said, listen, O Yazid, this message of Hussainiyat you can never defeat. Bibi in Lahjaye Ali said, listen, O Yazid, this message of Hussainiyat you can never defeat. Allah is a guarantor, but you will have no shelter. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. Allah is a guarantor, but you will have no shelter. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. My brother did his duty, and all I saw was beauty. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. هيهات منا زلة. Remembering your martyrdom, your pain and imtihan, we nurture our readiness for Akhirul Zaman. Remembering your martyrdom, your pain and imtihan, we nurture our readiness for Akhirul Zaman. We are your loyal Shia, Mahdi is our Mawla. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. We are your loyal Shia, Mahdi is our Mawla. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. This honor we remember, we shall never surrender. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. Everyone, this honor we remember, we shall never surrender. بين السلة والزلة هيهات منا زلة. هيهات منا زلة. هيهات منا زلة. صلوا على محمد وآل محمد. We will not have a question and answer session, but we will have ziyarat, and so please, we will recite ziyarat and then take your tabarak. Sallu ala Muhammad wa ala Muhammad.
السلام عليك يا أبا عبد الله وعلى الأرواح التي حلت بفنائك. عليك مني سلام الله أبدا.